Hey guys, welcome back to Hypnovision Studios. I am your host, Nicholas, and today I'm definitely going to dive back into the topic of semen retention. And I want to say thank you to everyone that has watched that video. I will leave a card in the description in 3, 2, 1, magic. Guys, the journey of semen retention, if you haven't watched the first video, I do encourage you to. It has taught me a whole lot, and I want to continue to share things with you and continue to invite you to comment and leave some feedback. And that way we all are learning and growing and expanding our own experience on this journey. One of the biggest things that it taught me was about the nervous system. It was something that, in my entire 44 years, I never really understood the inner dynamics, the inner workings of how the nervous system itself functions. And I think that was one of the biggest things, one of the biggest life lessons that it taught me. The early stages was indeed very tough because, we as humans can have that fear of failure, and we can dwell on those thoughts, and they begin to the shadow gets bigger in our mind, so to speak, right? It is the whole idea of what if I fail, and we set ourselves up for that moment to happen, and we can totally get lost on the fact that in life there is only opportunities. And if you see everything as a failure or a chance that you won't succeed, and you start to dwell too much on that, you can certainly set yourself up for it. I will testify that my very first quote unquote relapse, openly saying this, is, the whole idea of the difference between NoFap and semen retention, which I have mentioned in the previous video, and I've talked about this before. They are totally different things. They are not the same. While there is a lot of similarity in some of it, the whole NoFap thing is really just not masturbating. But the semen retention is like complete abstinence. And early on in those stages, with trying to figure out what is what with this and sort it out for myself in my own life, the whole idea of edging was something that I came across also, was, to prolong the ejaculation process where you could go longer. So in that sense, I guess you could practice, but, that would only truly make sense if you're trying to have a kid, if you're trying to produce a child. So yeah, indeed, you would want to be able to practice timing and all that kind of stuff, and observe moon cycles and menstrual cycles, and the probability of conceiving. Yeah, in that kind of sense, it would make a lot of sense. But if one of the things that I've learned, and definitely you can look outside in the outside world and see these things, there's been like this degeneration in sexuality in general. And the drawback or the downside to that also is what is happening to the internal nervous system, to all these people that are going through these experiences, and they don't really understand the dynamics of sexual energy itself. And that is one of the things that directly ties back to the nervous system that really, really, really enlightened me to a degree that I'm here now making videos about it. That's how much it changed me, because I understand, as somebody that has been on the side of, I would not say a sexual addiction, but I do understand that sexual energy is the most addictive of all. So when it ties back to our nervous system, when we don't know these things, and we don't know that we should even pay attention to these things, our nervous system is the chemical makeup of what we are. It is directly tied to how we feel. So when you talk about things like energy vampires or energy drains and stuff like that, number one, first you have to realize, as I did, that whatever you are feeling is your own internal feelings. Nobody can give or take your feelings away from you. No one can steal your energy. No one can. So all of that stuff is really a belief system. And when you start to understand the internal nervous system, it really does start to make a lot of sense to you. And the only way to really get there is to allow your body to return to a natural state of being chemically. And now is a good time for me to open up about something else. For many years, I was on testosterone or TRT treatment, which is for low testosterone. Um, there's a lot of mythology that goes with that also, but what I can tell you is that the production system does start to decrease over a long period. And if you're not having kids, it's not a problem, but you have to understand that the chemical makeup, the natural chemical makeup in the body is also going to take a hit from that, because you are introducing a foreign substitute of testosterone, which the body will, there's a feedback loop that happens with this. There's enough testosterone in your system, therefore your body does not have to produce enough testosterone. One of the things that happened to me was years ago, I had went and seen a doctor, and one of the things they wanted me to do was to just quit taking the shot. You know, you do get tired after a while getting a shot in the butt, but you know, I didn't even feel comfortable at the time just quitting cold turkey. Like my mind, I remember going through a phase when I first started it where like my hormones were just through the roof. And it was very, it felt like being a teenager again. But at the same time, I went through some discomfort in that man area down there that was for weeks on end, that, you know, it felt like it turned into months where there was a lot of discomfort. And likewise, when I came off of it, eventually, a little over 2.5 years ago, I feel like I went through a reboot of my reproductive system. And since then, you know, I started this whole journey. So it's definitely been something that originally, because of low testosterone, which was years and years ago, led me on this journey eventually to this point. Now, there's a lot of other things going on in my life that contributed to this, and there's no need for me to go deep into that right now, but I want to stay on the nervous system for just a minute. There's a lot of things that are happening in the body all the time. Your body is always trying to balance out the energy, so to speak, and when we are focusing on the wrong aspects of things, we can lose sight of what's really important. And the nervous system itself, it cannot distinguish the difference in what you were thinking. Like if you are worrying about something, you will start to manifest that and experience that in your body, even if it's something that has not happened. So because it has not happened, it is not real. It is not reality because it has not happened. But your nervous system indeed does produce the chemical charge that allows you to feel it. So that chemical charge could be seen as the energy or the emotion in motion in the body, which is quite interesting. Years and years ago, I think it was my grandma, I remember asking, just, you know, from a child's point of view, children ask some of the most honest questions that adults can never really answer. And this was one of those. Is like, when I go to heaven and I don't have my body, how will I know who is who? How will I be able to recognize anybody? And I feel like, and this really stands out in my mind, that it is our energy, that our aura, that you'll remember. Everybody will know everybody. And that has really stuck out in my mind. And when I came across the whole concept of emotion is energy in motion, emotion, E equals MC squared, that was very enlightening to me, because my whole mind went through this experience of I guess, when that reproduction system kicked back on, and then on top of that, abstaining from ejaculating, abstaining from sex, abstaining from masturbation, which, over the course of the initial phases, yeah, you do have a lot of strong urges and things like that. But eventually, I got to the point where mentally, I started to have a lot of clarity that I've never had in my life. And the process of me journaling and the process of me trying to absorb as much information and knowledge that I can and try to relate to it in my own life led me to things like the observer effect, which I eventually come to my own conclusion that once you start to observe and put your attention onto something, it begins to change. It can't help but change because you are giving it attention. That concept eventually led me to understand the dynamics between attention seeking, ADHD, mental discipline, focusing and meditation, and a whole slew of other things which has directly affected my channel over the past year. So there's a lot of topics that it just really expanded and exploded into. And the nervous system really is the spark of everything because it is the tree of life. Your mind is directly connected to the spinal cord, and it runs all the way down to the base of your spine, which is the taproot, which is also symbolic for the Kundalini energy, the divine feminine energy, which is Mother Earth, right? You plant the seeds in the soul, and this is one of my favorite metaphors, but it is so true. You plant seeds in the soul, and then Mother Earth will germinate, and the sun will pull the seeds up out of the ground and turn into whatever plant that the seed was. Much in the same way, you have at the base of the spine the taproot, and then at the top of the brain, there is that connection. And if you look at the zodiac sign, it is a human folded, and you have to unfold everything, which is the nervous system. It is the spinal cord. You really have to understand the spiral effect of everything in the universe. There's so much there, guys. There's so much that semen retention alone has taught me. Where you put your focus is what you are going to grow. Your focus is the light, and the light comes from the mind, the brain, right? So everything else, you're shining a light down the tree of life and illuminating everything down, and then it comes back up. So of course, if your root chakra is not healed, if there are a lot of things about your own sexual reproduction system and how it connects and relates to your own internal nervous system, of course, that will manifest in behavior actions, right? You will seek attention and not even know fully what it is. And that was one of the things that I learned was fully what it is. I mean by you are seeking attention, and then when somebody comes along and actually hears what you are saying and offers that to you, you reject it because that's not the type of attention that you wanted. And for some reason, this seems to be a pattern that you can observe in people where they will do the same thing over and over, and they will do it with multiple people. And that is because of not understanding the emotion or the energy in motion. And because it does connect, the energy does run through the root chakra. It does run through all other chakra systems in the body, through the nervous system. Eventually, the chemical compounds in the mind, things like dopamine, that is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest chemical compounds, because it is more of a short-term feel good, right? So you get that phone call, you get a notification. There's all kinds of things. You haven't seen somebody in a while, you feel good real briefly, and then it kind of fizzles out. Those type things is part of the chemistry that all chemicals that are in the body, alchemy, all chemicals, as I understand it. So learning these things actually allowed me to observe my own thoughts, right? Because if I can observe things on the outside, then surely I can observe them on the inside. The observer effect is like watching your own thoughts, so to speak, and observing how you are reacting when these thoughts come up. So this is how you start to recognize patterns within your own thinking, so to speak. If you get into a pattern of, one of the biggest things is the first thing in the morning, when you wake up and when you go to bed, that is really how you are setting the following day up, or the following night's rest. You are actually doing this in cycles, right? Morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. So we get into these rhythms and we continue to do the same thing over and over and over. And that is how we start to form cycles in our own lives. And when we are so focused on the outside, we are not really paying much attention to our own internal cycles that we are repeating. Maybe we are ruminating about something. Maybe we are regretting something. And whenever that is happening in the mind and it is not in the environment, it is truest form, disassociating from the present moment and drifting away mentally into another dimension. So when we talk about things like 5D, yeah, there's a lot of truth to this, because there is the five senses, and that gives you 5 dimensions of understanding through the senses. So if you have 5 senses, and then your conscious makes the 6th sense, and your conscious is something that nobody can really see, right? I cannot see the thoughts inside of your mind, but I can read your actions and try to interpret, but I'm still viewing things from my lens, from my observatory point. I am still viewing the world as I am. So if you are in front of me, I cannot see your conscious. That is the 6th sense. That is that which is hidden behind the veil. So when you start to understand the whole dynamic of the nervous system itself, it's a very interesting topic to dive into. You also understand how the thought patterns affect those chemical makeups. So we tend to flock together with people that are like-minded, whether we are doing this from an awareness or knowing or not knowing point. It is indeed true. And sometimes we are in environments where maybe we start to absorb the environment around us. We start to become the environment. That would be things like, changing how you talk, changing the way you walk, changing, you change up around different groups. And there's really nothing wrong with that, but there is the awareness and discernment part of, how much am I being less authentic just to fit in? That's kind of where I'm going with this. So the nervous system does have a lot to do with that, because if you are a highly anxious person, then perhaps that might suggest that you overthink things. And if you're overthinking, then you're not really acting. You're kind of stuck in your own head, trapped in your own thoughts. And that is limiting you from being able to take action. Actor, right? We are, life is theater. And the only thing that we are continuously forgetting is that there is a veil. And the veil is what is on the inside. That is me, myself, and I. We will put all this projection out into the outside world and then act from that place of not knowing sometimes. And that was something that once you start to understand how to balance and ground yourself out, how to allow energy to move. And I'll circle back around to the what I was talking about in the beginning of the video about what semen retention taught me with the nervous system. And feelings are always yours. So if somebody says like, I'm in my feelings, what they're really saying is what they are feeling inside. But if they don't tell you what it is, do I feel guilt? Do I feel shame? Do I feel happy? Do I feel joy? It leaves you to really kind of guess. And that is a communication thing. Honestly, that is something that even I have struggled with for a long time in my life. Is I feel at times that I ask for help, but then help, it just Like you want people to be there for you and you want to be able to be there for other people. But if you have to explain it every time, it's like the whole joke with the dad and the kid and the flashlight, right? You had one job, hold the flashlight, you couldn't even do that right. So yeah, I get the overthinking aspect of it. I get the getting nervous about things. There's that word again, nervous system. There is a lot that affects our nervous system, and it's all 100% generated from your thoughts, the chemical makeup in your body. So one of the best things that you can do is practice semen retention, because it will bring your body back to a baseline, and it will also, on the every 28.5 day cycle, you get that ascension of the Christ oil back up into your brain and the whole washing of the blood. So there is definitely a lot of benefit to a man who is able to retain his seed, so to speak. There are a lot of breathing techniques. There are a lot of ways to really move that energy around the body without actually having to have sex. And yes, you do get this sense of like long term. So for me, it's been 2 years. There's also this sense of like, I know that I'm not going to go through life and not ever have sex again. That's just not going to happen. But at the same time, I'm just not in currently like this whole mood. It's like, I'm not even worried about it because I understand the benefits that I'm getting from it right now. And that the other person would perhaps have to really understand this and how important it is for me before I would even get into the point of even thinking about having sex. So that is something that really, when it says semen retention makes you a high value man, if you are dead serious about semen retention and the practice of it, then you will not use it as a way to get women, right? To be a challenge to women, because I do see that in some videos. It's almost like a setup for failure as a tool. Like, hey, look at me, I practice semen retention. And so the females are like, oh, bet I can be the one to make you weak and tempt you into breaking that. So guys, don't fall for that mess, please. I mean, it's your life, but I'm just saying, I'm pointing it out. That is something that is real. Use your discernment, right? If your intuition is on point, then you will be able to discern these type things when you interact with women. So I'm not going to give anybody any kind of relationship advice. It is not my place, not my business. And really, those are really opinions. So I want to stick to the things that I do know and what has helped me as a man. And I would love to hear from you guys. Meditation has definitely helped me with the balancing of my urges, my primal urges and things like that. But not just that, but to really refocus, retool my mind to continue expanding and to continue to grow and to stay focused on what it is. I write every day. I write before bed. Oftentimes I'm writing before morning, and I'm producing a lot of different content, a lot of different varieties, but I'm going to have to start narrowing a lot of this stuff down, because in the beginning, I'm such a fool for other people that when somebody would say something to me, I would use that as inspiration for my content, because, I learned a long time ago that some people, if they perceive you as having money, or if they perceive you as having a lot of material things, sometimes those people are not around you for your best interest. Sometimes it's because of what you have, not because of who you are. Or sometimes it is because of who you are. And regardless of what you have, you will have people that will always be a part of your life. And those are the true people that are for you. So once you understand that dynamic, you can really kind of cut through a lot of clutter. So stay 10 toes down, guys. Breathing is absolute when it comes to semen retention. For me, and when it comes to online content, I do understand, and I will never shame anybody over porn. That is a legit thing that will desensitize you. So no shame to anyone. I have watched porn myself. I have consumed in a variety of different fetishes online and stuff like that. I have, honestly, that is something that is so taboo in our society, especially in different backgrounds. It becomes one of those things where the family system, whether knowing or unknowingly, I have to really put that in there, because this is not an attack on anybody. It is just bringing awareness to it, because I do understand how, if those mature talks are not had in the household, say the parent didn't know and they're doing the best they can, but they can't not give you knowledge that they do not have. And so there's no one to blame for that, but to only gain understanding and grow from it. So that's where I'm at. And I want to really, point that out, that I will never shame anybody. I will never look down on anybody. But as somebody that has been on that side, I understand what it's like. So porn, it does desensitize you. And, as I said, the sexual energy is a very addictive energy. And so when you start getting dopamine hits from watching porn or stuff like that, you start to understand how you're actually depleting your own self. And it becomes one of those slippery slopes over a long period of time, just like anything else. It doesn't happen overnight. So again, there's other creative outlets. And for me, writing is one of those. I'm not a hopeless romantic, but I do write a lot of stories, and a lot of this, I used to write a lot about the face that I could not see in my dreams. And one thing over this journey that I learned was, since the Kundalini energy does represent the feminine aspect, and it is Mother Earth, when you start to look at the different layers of it, I started to really understand the face that I could not make out in my dreams was parts of me that I did not know. So really that emotional bond that a woman has with a child, that is a bond that a man will never know. And so the concept to me, it was always a dream that I would have, and it was playful. It was like I don't know how to put it, but it was like a child's dream of just having that play person, that imaginary friend that is the opposite gender, that is still intact. It is still sweet. It has not been tarnished. It has not been corrupted. It is not, none of those negative aspects about it. It's like that pristine image. And that was something that led me to the internal dialogue, the internal fantasies that we have in our imagination. There was a lot of stuff at the time I didn't understand, but I do now, because the signs always follow, they never precede. And time reveals a lot. So guys, I'm about to hit 30 minutes. I know I've kind of rambled a little bit. I just want to be more open and honest with you guys. I appreciate every like. I appreciate every comment. And I try to respond to comments all the time. Please, if you find anything interesting, I'm going to be adding cards into my videos next week so that I can start to tie in some of these other related videos. But the Christ conscious, which is the sun, and the Kundalini, which is Mother Earth, feminine energy, there's a lot that does really kind of coexist when you start to dive into these things. And with that, guys, I will see you down the road.